Hi folks, welcome back to Ukes with Alex. This is the ukulele channel where we talk about ukuleles, ukulele culture, and we learn things along the way, maybe a few lessons, maybe a few things about strings, we have guests, we do it all here. And today, my sixth guest on the Ukes with Alex podcast is Sarah Maisel and Craig Chee. Hi guys.
Hello.
I had a really good intro lined up for you guys, but I bottled it as I said it. What I actually really want to say is, if you're a positive person and you like ukuleles and you've not yet put those two things together and been introduced to Sarah and Craig, then you are missing out, because for me, I have seen you guys when I've been jet lagged on no sleep, and it's like having an espresso, and I'm so happy and I'm ready to go again. So
awesome.
God love you for that.
I love it.
So
Aww, thanks.
I couldn't have bigged you up bigger as an intro, but just for people who haven't heard of you guys yet, but they're keen, and maybe they're into lessons or maybe they play, can you just tell the people watching and listening a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. So we had our own separate careers before we got together, but we've been performing together for at least 6 or 7 years, and we've been married for 5 of those years.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
and I didn't realize it was quite that linked. So that's cool.
Yeah, and we love teaching, and we love getting to just share the joy of music. I think one of the things that really makes us so passionate about teaching is that getting to see those light bulb moments. So many people, especially early in their lives, get put off from music either by like a really mean teacher, or they just think they can't do it. And I love with the ukulele, you can show folks, that anyone can make music, and it's so cool. So I know that's one of the biggest inspirations for us as teachers. And one of the things that's really just kept us going as teachers is just all of that.
Yeah.
We now live in Honolulu, Hawaii, with our little 9-month-old Cameron. So, see, what else, sweetheart? What else about us?
Well, I feel like a lot of people who enter the ukulele world, there's a realization that yes, you can be a great performer, you can do fantastic things, but there is an underlining theme of it's almost cult-like.
Oh yeah.
In the sense where you want to get people involved. You want
well, because it's such a happy thing, and you're like, I want to share this joy with you. Come with me.
And part of it is the teaching. Part of it is like, it's so easy to just start playing, and it's this tiny, super unintimidating instrument that you can see like little kids just jamming on. You see grandparents and grandkids doing things together for the first time, and it's just absolutely incredible. And for us, I think we tried to thread that needle of like, do we focus more on the performing, or do we want to teach more, because that is also a huge passion. But I think a lot of us in the ukulele world have to find that balance and find themselves in that way, because there's so many options, there's so many incredible ways to share your passion for the ukulele, whether it's teaching or whether it's performing. So I think we've been very fortunate that we've been able to really do both.
I feel. And that's the other thing too, is that when we perform, a lot of times when we'll teach a workshop and we'll show various techniques and things, and then we'll tell the people who have attended, now when you watch any show, be it us or anyone else, but look for the things that we taught, because you will see them right away. And sometimes even in the middle of our sets, we'll stop and say, okay, I'm about to do this thing that we went over, class.
I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah. Where it's just like, no, we love being able to show people what we do, because there's no secrets. It's all music, and it's all something that should be shared and enjoyed by everybody. And so Craig and I really worked hard to take that passion to as many places as possible. We've been, as Craig said, very fortunate. We've traveled the world. We've performed in the UK, Japan, China, Australia, Canada, so all over the place, and just getting to share the joy of this really awesome instrument.
That's it. That's great. I had a great framework for my questions, but you've touched on something that I was going to ask at the end that I really want to ask you. So we've gone all out of sorts, but it's all right. It's all right. I wanted to talk to you about your lessons and what you do, because over the years I've had so many customers who've asked me about good online teachers, and there is they do very, very good. I mean, I'm myself included on a small scale, people who do YouTube lessons and then they do a kind of paid service. But I think that you may be the industry leaders from the perspective of what you do. I mean, I've had customers who have done your Artistworks courses. I've had customers that have had one-on-one lessons with you via this kind of thing, like Zoom, Skype, etc. And just customers who have attended workshops. You really, I want to say corner the market, but that sounds quite cold. You guys really you've spread yourselves in such a way that you really have done everything you've just described. And when I think of ukulele teachers, I think of you guys. I wish that I'd had music teachers like yourselves, because certainly the people who have come into our shop that have raved about you're like part of the family for them. So congratulations on that, because I mean, to achieve that, and to have only been performing together for quite a short time, really. I mean, me and my musical partner Nick, we've been friends for 16 years, and I don't think we're quite at a point yet where we're ready to smile at each other, let alone teach a class together. So I just thumbs up to you and congratulations for that.
Well, with that said, I do have to thank Ukulele Underground for really paving that way of I mean, they were doing online workshops and classes for like the longest time. And before I even realized, and Aldrin Girls, just as you know, we're huge fans and great friends with all of them. And I have to give credit where credit's due. And with Artistworks, they are doing something much different, but it really was for me the inspiration going into it, knowing that it could be done with Ukulele Underground success. And so that gave me, I think both of us, that kind of energy going into it, because like I said, like the coolest, and here's my little spiel about Artistworks, because I still get giddy over it to this day, because it's both from like you said, both from a student standpoint and an artist standpoint. As an artist or as a teacher, there gets to a point where you can only teach so much in a day if you're doing individual lessons. Like after maybe 5 hours of individual teaching, I am mentally and physically drained, because we put so much effort in looking at all the nuanced things that are going on. We're looking at more than just how they practice, but we're looking at everything from their form to
but also the prep too, because we also prep before and after each lesson as well.
So we realized that wasn't really sustainable in that sense without just running haggard. And the idea behind Artistworks, with what they did with their other schools instruments, everything was laid out in these kind of 5 to 7 minute bite-sized lessons, so you don't feel like you have to reteach every single lesson. So the student gets to watch all these pre-recorded materials, and when they do get stuck, or when they do have a question, they get to upload that video of themselves playing, and we get to then respond with a video saying, oh, try this. You still get that one-on-one, but all of the general things and the main meat and potatoes is already laid out, which is really nice. And we still get emails to this day where people are saying, I haven't submitted a video yet, but they get access to all of these video exchanges from other students. So they say, I'm learning so much by how you interact with other students and watching those other videos. I had the same question, etc. And so it is like the best of both worlds of still getting that one-on-one, but learning at your own pace. Because a lot of these adults especially are going through the lessons at like 11 at night, after work and dinner and all that kind of stuff. So
that's
and I love the other thing too that I like about Artistworks is that with that sort of video exchange program, we get to know our students. Because the one thing that we didn't like about online lessons, because we were kind of in this crossroads where we were like, should we do online lessons? I'm not sure. This was several years back.
Yeah.
And then, but the idea of being able to actually see and still be able to communicate and help an individual is really important to us. And so to kind of be able to have both is really amazing. It's also really great too to be able to say, hey, like if you submit a video to me and it's the question you have is something that I actually answered in a specific lesson, I usually will tell you in the video, hey, this is a quick rundown, but go to this specific lesson and you'll see it broken down even further to answer your question, etc. And I love that because then they have like this other sort of backup lesson besides the one that I just did.
Layers of education. It's like having a teaching assistant in the room.
Yeah, it's really, really, really nice.
Well, now we're taking it even further. For like right now, we have like this Halloween challenge where they get to perform a Halloween song, or they can submit stages of it, and we can help them like with their arrangement or give them ideas.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be part of that creative process as well, not just going through the same material over and over and over kind of thing.
Because I mean, we do, and that also brings up too with the program, it's not all set it and forget it. So we actually try to give challenges on a semi-regular basis where we'll record a new video saying, hey, here are the parameters, etc. You know, just for those of you guys that like submitting videos, you know, here is a challenge for you. And I think it's been every other year we usually will go into the Artistworks studio and record new material. So we're always adding to the curriculum.
Right. That's, I mean, it's just fantastic. And, you know, long may you continue to do so, because,
Thank you.
you know, can't think, you know, we all like to think about the impact that we make. And I can't think about how many people that may have not stuck with the ukulele had they not discovered what you do. And yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. If it's okay, I'd just like to kind of ask you two individual questions, because I did try to do a bit of research and learn a bit about you both. And I'd love to just learn a little bit more, if that's okay. I mean, you haven't got to give me your social security numbers and you know, measurements, but I would just, I mean, maybe if I could just start with you, Craig. I saw that you grew up in Hawaii, but you moved to Oregon to go to university. I was just wondering if music was always the plan for you, or whether you were perhaps
not at all. Not at all. So no, so I grew up playing cello. Cello was like supposed to be the instrument I was gonna be really, really good at.
Okay.
You know, after high school, I realized, hey, this is not like a cool party type of like instrument to take.
You're not gonna pick up chicks with the cello.
And so like it was such a big moment when I had that realization, and I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And so I decided, you know, I'm gonna get really good at the ukulele, and I'm gonna bring part of, you know, the culture that I grew up with to the mainland, to Oregon, and share that with people.
What year was this? Can you tell me?
This was the summer of '99. Well, we had you know, Pure Heart was big at the time. Troy Fernandez was the one who really inspired me to pick up and start kind of doing more than just strumming. And yeah, it was incredible. And I you know, in the fall, I you know, there was the Hawaii Club of the University of Oregon, and there's a band that plays like for functions and luau's, and they just had their lead ukulele player graduate, so there was an opening, and I just kind of
meant to be
jumped right into it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that it wasn't your only path, because perhaps that's part of what makes you a good teacher, you know. Whereas if you grew up with that as your aspirations, perhaps the performing side of what you do would have been too strong, as many of us find.
Very true. And I started off in business, and I realized, you know, the first couple classes, like you're in a room of like 300 people, which is, you know, at that point I was like, this might not be for me. So I jumped around majors for a little bit just to experiment, see what's out there. And as I got more serious with the music, I realized, okay, what can I do besides going to like music and all that? So I that's when I focused on multimedia design. So I focus on photography, videography, and digital design, so that I could do all of the back end stuff myself rather than outsource every single
Hey,
time.
another
You
thing
know,
that, it's funny, you're ahead of the curve there, because how many of us, 10 years ago, that kind of
Mm.
felt unthinkable, and there's that tiny percentage, which would have included yourself, that thought ahead. So kudos to you, because I'm getting around all of these things now in my 30s, and it just gives me a greater appreciation. When I look at, that's why I get excited when I see the kind of things you guys do. And hey, when we opened up this window, the first thing I said was about how much I appreciated the professional looking backdrop. I just know that in fact, I can go one further. The video capture card I'm using to record this was because of an Amazon link that you sent me, and said the Elgato cam link is unavailable everywhere, and mine broke today. So I'm using the one that
Oh
I bought
wow!
on your recommendation, and it's working fine.
How cool is that?
Shoot.
Well, I mean that was the thing when the pandemic started.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, I was texting friends in the music industry. I was texting people in the local area, like, gotta get these things now, because I
It's gonna
know
go away.
it's gonna get, just because everyone is going online. So all of these things that like the streamers and the gamers were using, it's gonna disappear.
And they did.
And they did
all
overnight. And I remember we were using an iPhone with the Zoom recorder, and we decided to upgrade the video in January. So the week after the NAMM show, I bought all of this equipment, and then March happened.
Yeah.
I needed to buy. Rob said to me, "Oh, maybe we should get a spare camera." And I looked, and the camera that I bought for £500 was £950. So it just about doubled in price, and it wasn't available anyway. So yeah, how many people out there got caught? And I just kudos to you. It seemed to me that perhaps the ukulele wasn't your first kind of love affair, and that maybe that was something that you'd found later on. And you're a fantastic player. You'd never know. You look like you've been playing your entire life. But I just wanted to ask a similar question to you, Sarah, because your biography on your websites and on various websites, I find it reads really. It's a very romantic sounding story. So you're from Alabama.
Yes.
And you moved to San Diego. So were there any stops in between, or did you go from Alabama, I'm going to move to San Diego?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I lied. There was a stop. There's university in between.
Okay.
So Alabama, and I went to the school name has changed now. When I went there, it was called the North Carolina School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My degree is actually in pattern making for clothing. And where I went was a conservatory program. So we did, I think, 36 shows a year, and it was all student produced. And that included dance, opera, musical, straight plays, etc. And so I made costumes, and that was my big passion. I mean, I played music. So when I was 6, I started to play the violin. And I've always loved music, loved listening to it and playing. And I loved classical music. I still do. And so I did violin up until actually all through my senior year of high school. So I did violin for a long time. But I kind of had this realization that everybody wants to be in the spotlight. So there's no way I'm going to be able to, make my rent and like live as a musician, particularly classical musician.
How old it was too. Sorry.
I was 14. I was 14 when I was having these thoughts.
I was twice your age when I figured that out.
So I ended up going, okay, well, what can I do that is still in the arts, but can still kind of fulfill that sort of creative energy that I have. And I always loved theater. So at one point I was like, I'll be an actress. And that didn't work out well. But I found the costume shop through that.
Okay.
And I ended up for high school, I went to a specialty high school where I could actually have a major. And so that's where, and I actually majored in costume and theater there, and then moved on to the conservatory program at the school in North Carolina. At a job fair that the school had, somebody from the La Jolla Playhouse, which is in San Diego, California, was there. He saw my work and said, we can hire you for the summer. I said, awesome. And I moved. And I had never been to California before. It was honestly incredibly lonely, and I did not like the landscape. It was very different from the lush greenness of the South. And I knew no one. I had no family. And costume shops aren't, huge places to work. There's like 4 other people. So it was a hard adjustment for me because I'd always been super, super social. But then a friend of mine at work said, oh, and I had quit music, by the way. So I had quit playing music completely because I wanted to make sure that I focused on my craft for costume stuff.
Of course.
And so a friend of mine took me to this pizza place. She said, they meet once a week, and there's like 40 or more uke players, and there's hula. And I'm like, what? I've never seen either of those things. That sounds awesome. Let's go. And so we went. And it was like someone lifted this veil for me. And because I had been depressed, and it was amazing. All of these people, they were so happy. They saw, I guess I had a look on my face because they kept trying to hand me an instrument. Like, you should play. And I'm like, I don't play. And it was such an amazing and happy experience. And I guess it was sort of my first ever sort of run-in with aloha spirit. Like it was palatable. It was a real thing. And so then after that, I started taking group lessons. I forgot how much I missed playing music. And once a week, I was always there for years and years and years. Today's pizza and salad with the Moonlight Beach Ukulele Strummers. And it was just so amazing. And again, I did it purely for fun. There's no way I was going to do this professionally. There's no way that, I was going to be able to, make a living at it. And then in 2000, so I moved to California in 2004, picked up the uke in 2006, and I quit my job at the Playhouse and University of California, San Diego, because it was a joint position. Yeah. I quit that job, I think, in 2013.
Wow.
To be a musician.
That's excellent. Hey, what a lovely story. Imagine though, imagine if you'd had a cold that day and you didn't go. It's crazy how these things happen. They line up like they do. I never thought I'd work in a ukulele shop. I'd never played a ukulele until I started working here. And, I've been here for 12 years now, and I'm so fiercely proud of the whole thing. That's so cool. You find these things, don't you? And you just, and they change, especially if you're a social person and you were getting depressed, and that ukulele, that community spirit, it's so strong. And there's a real feeling of inclusion that you just don't get with other instruments. No, I mean, I'm a guitarist, but if 2 guitarists are playing at the same time, one of them's looking at the other to see if they're better than them. And you don't really get that with the ukulele. I should say it properly. No. I've told my friends I should, but I try and mix it up. So I try and say it one way and then another so that people stop commenting that I'm saying it wrong. So, but that's just fabulous. And I mean, as far as you guys meeting, did you find, how long did you guys know each other before you found that there was a real musical connection?
The musical connection was right away. Yeah. But the dating didn't happen for like a year and a half.
We were like laughing at people like, oh, look at those crazy people dating in the same industry. That's nuts. They're crazy.
Yeah, we just enjoyed working together.
Yeah.
So for us going into so we were getting hired a lot at the same festivals, just so happened, right? And so Craig always loves to collaborate. So whenever before me, and even still, we will still collaborate with people. But anytime there was a festival he'd go to, he'd find other artists and be like, "Hey, I'll bring you up on my set. Let's play, etc."
Okay.
And so he saw that we were going to be doing like 4 or 5 festivals one year. So he said, "Oh, let's work on some stuff, and then we can always, do those in the sets." And that's how we got started playing together. And then, time passed, and we finally got the memo. Everyone else around us apparently had the memo because people were asking us about us dating,
so
and
they,
we were like,
they knew before we did, for
we
sure.
did not.
Yeah, I get that. It was a similar situation with me and my wife. We met each other in 2009. She was playing music, I was playing music, but we didn't get together for another 3 years. The common interest is the easy part. It's the other stuff develops over time, and you form a stronger connection for it. Said the love doctor, Alex Beds.
Yes.
Well, I just want to talk now, if I can, a little bit about kanile'a. I see that you're wearing a kanile'a hat. My one doesn't fit my big head properly, but yours fits just right. Now you've got your kanile'a hat on. Can you just talk a bit about your signature ukuleles and perhaps your personal relationships with the brand?
Oh yeah. Sarah grabs our ukuleles. I actually want to address something that was brought up a few times. You keep referring to us as like a store, and I feel like there needs to be another term that we use, because to me, Southern Ukulele Store it's not like a typical store. Like when you think about that, like to me, it's you're like a mecca. You're like
ukulele
a hub
hotspot
of the ukulele world in the UK, and not just because I think you have the biggest variety of ukuleles to offer, but you could tell that the passion of everyone in the store, like, really believes in the instrument itself, and it comes across not only to us as visiting artists, but to all of the attendees, to all of your events that you put on, and to your customers. It's a lot of times while we're gearing up and you start people coming in and shopping for instruments, we would watch how you guys interacted with your customers, and it was so easy to see how much you cared. I mean, that for everyone in the staff, your whole crew was just like on it, and it was so cool to see, because there is a big difference in those who felt like they were dragged into carrying ukuleles, or pushed one way or another. They didn't really get it, right? They just it was another thing to sell, and I can't thank you guys, because yes, what we do, is great, and we do try to, as much as we can, to inspire, but without people and groups and venues like this, it would be such a different world. It really would for us. And a lot of times it's easy to forget that there's so much momentum that's built from the ground up from locations like us. And we can't thank you guys enough for doing what you do. And again, for those of you who don't know, they actually pay artists to come for these events that they throw on for free for their customers, which who does that? I mean, that is so awesome. So
Rob, I'll cut in only because Rob, the owner of the shop, he doesn't get enough credit for that. He's always been so giving. And there's a kind of unwritten, unspoken feeling that if you actually care about the product and just getting the person to the right instrument and in the right, you're going to get them in the right lane, and then everything else just takes care of itself. And I used to manage a different retail company where there was a really nasty kind of underlying sense of kind of sell. And it works very, very well, because we know that just taking care of people is the way to do it. And, occasionally the person doesn't get the right instrument for them, but it's how you deal with those situations that make it. So thank you for noticing that and, reciprocating the love, because it's very kind of you. I don't know what to say. Let's talk about your kind of layers if we can.
These Joe Souza, is such an incredible luthier and visionary. And when we started talking to him about the sound that we were going for, what we wanted in an instrument, he was like, "Oh, well, what kind of wood? What da 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 da?"
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, "You're the wood guy.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what we're aiming for, and you do whatever you need to do." And he's like, "Wow, really?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yes.
please." And so, we had our custom string sets at the time, which is our GHS high G,
Oh, sorry.
and then the high D tuning. So we knew we were going that route with the two different tunings to give us a little bit more depth in our playing. So we wanted something that was really mellow, but still kind of cut with this high G instrument, since that will be typically the one doing more of the soloing. And you got to show the inlay and the puka.
Okay, so see if I can get it. I have to cover my face.
Let me do this.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh,
there we go. There it is. Because your face was up there.
There we go.
There we go. So that is actually a hole. It's a hibiscus. Yeah. And then the front, see if it'll stay in focus. Yeah, I see. That's sand inlay. And that's a design that Joe came up with. That's also hibiscus as well. And it's the fret markers as well, going up the frets too.
And then and the crazy thing about this one is that as we were talking, he's like, "Oh, it'd be really nice as the body is a walnut body with a spruce top for the reentrant baritone." And again, the cool thing is that this is, even though it's a baritone reentrant tuning, it's a tenor size. So that when we do switch instruments, we don't have to learn a whole new fretboard kind of feeling.
Well, and just the feeling, because I know sometimes when I go from one scale to another, I'll overshoot or undershoot depending on if it's larger or smaller. So it's nice when we do switch instruments.
Did you go? Is it still 17-inch scale or 19-inch? Because obviously I've
17.
seen you. Cool. So it still sticks to the 17-inch. I've been using your baritone set.
Cool.
I've been using it for quite a long time actually.
Nice.
I try and recommend I like that you have signature strings, because that's something I've had to do as well. And you've picked things that are just so niche that I just can't help but love that you somewhere there's an answer, and it's usually one of those strings. So that's cool that you talked about them as well, and that you're still using them after all these years, and then that it's not just a coincidence that you do them. That's great.
Yeah, no, we love them. They're
And I got to mention, though, the one chicken skin moment about this walnut body is that Joe was like, "Oh, the walnut would be perfect. I have this amazing set of walnut wood that I traded 10 years ago or 6 years ago." And
with somebody in Nicholas, California.
Yeah, and we're like, "Oh, wait, we know a family in Nicholas, California who owns a walnut grove." And it happened to be this amazing family that when we toured with, at least when I did tours with Aldrine going south, and then with Sarah later on, we always stopped by that family's house and we stayed a few days. Incredible family, the Watkins, and they happened to meet Joe years earlier and traded for some POA, and he's been waiting for a project that this walnut would match with, and just happened.
It was great, and to add to that. So these instruments were presented to us at our wedding, and our friends, the Watkins and the Souzas, we were all there. So we were able to show our friends who owned the trees what their tree got to be made into.
That's such a beautiful story.
Oh, cool.
Why is this story not everywhere online? Because I tried to find out about your instruments, and you can find bits and pieces. I'm so glad
we try to hide little things here and there to make these moments more special.
I'm so happy that you shared that. That's so cool. I think the more connections you can have to an instrument, the more you're going to love it, pick it up. And I'm sure every now and again you pick it up, and for a moment you don't take it for granted, and you go, "I'm so lucky." Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and also a lot of times I'll pick up either of these instruments and remember the moment we first played them, and it was at our wedding. We performed for our guests, and that moment always sticks with me.
Did you perform the wedding dress?
Huh?
Did you perform in a wedding dress?
Kind of. I mean, my wedding dress was this really awesome, not what you think of as a wedding dress.
It's all good.
Because I just,
Well, first
Yeah.
off, it was way too hot. It
Oh
was
my God.
so hot that
it
day.
was the hottest day ever. Now, I do want to tell you real quick about our wedding because it was the best party ever. We kind of wish we sold tickets. So we had our friends Brian Tolentino, Asa Young, Del Beasley, Chris Kamaka, Holly Hakusiburi, and Kale Gamiao. They were like the main band that played for everyone.
Wow.
And then
That's a bad.
yeah, I know. And then Benny Chong and Byron Yasui showed up and they played. And then, Herb, I can't believe I forgot Herb. Herb Ota Jr. actually came and played a song for us at the beginning because he had to go do some recording, so he couldn't stay. So he played a song for us.
So special.
It was so
He's my
special.
favorite ukulele player.
He's amazing, isn't
Yeah.
he? Oh my gosh. And
It's
I'm
effortless.
trying to
It's effortless.
think of
Yeah.
who else. I feel like I'm
Well,
missing
not only
someone.
that, but we had like we over the years we got really close with event organizers. So we
Yes.
had like two festival heads from
Australia
Australia that
come.
came. I mean, it was like
You
we
invited
looked
Rob.
around and well,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
and we
invited
said
Rob.
this
We-
ukulele. I mean, this wedding is brought to you by the ukulele. It was like this is
Yeah.
we live and breathe for this instrument because it's connected us with so much love and
Well, and it's connected us.
Yeah.
Like without this instrument, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have our son.
Of course.
So for us, this instrument is an integral part of everything. And so when we were inviting people, because we were touring and stuff, we were like, you should come to our wedding. We're going to invite you. What's your address? We meant it. It was like, no, come.
course.
And for us, we told people too, we said, your presence is the present.
Mhm.
Do not worry about, getting us stuff. Like just come. That's the important thing because we want to share this amazing party with you. So, we had some people who were like, oh, no. It's like, no, when we say come visit or come, it's like, we mean it. It's
Yeah.
not,
You-
it's
you know,
never
I always-
half-hearted.
I always think back because I'd met you guys twice, and
Mhm.
you both. I sent you guys a message. I think about when you were performing at the NAMM show because I wanted to get some footage, and
Yeah.
you said, "Oh, next time you should come and stay with us or come down and spend the day."
Yeah.
And it was great. And Phil and I were going to take you up on the offer, but then you only went and got pregnant, didn't you?
I know.
And
I know.
and your
And then
due
we
date
weren't
was
coming up.
around that time. So
Yeah.
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were, as my wife was 5-6 months pregnant at the time ourselves.
Yeah.
I understood
Yeah.
that wasn't the time that you want guests, but just your hospitable nature, it's infectious, and I really enjoyed running into you guys at the NAMM show last year, where you
Yeah.
guys
That was
told me
fun.
some cool stories about your early days gigging and some of your experiences that I think we won't share here because some of them are quite sad, and you probably won't remember what you
Yes.
told me, but I just we've all
Well,
had
some of them,
you
I was
do.
gonna say some of them I do remember because they're ones that you're just like musician to musician. It's like you've shared experiences.
Yeah, I've seen some things, man. I've seen some things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so I won't share them here, but it did make me think that in you two, there's a definite pair of friends for life there, and I'd have absolutely no hesitation, and just I think every single day you've come up in some form since then where we recommend
Oh.
your work and what you guys do. So before we go, I guess I'll ask the same question to you folks that I've asked all the other guests. Where do you see the ukulele going over the next 10 years, based on what you hear and see from your students and your friends? You're in the thick of it there.
Well, especially right now, it's hard. It's hard to look into that crystal ball because of how everything has changed so dramatically this year with COVID and everything. But I do think that there's going to be a whole lot more virtual events, whether they be live streams and things like that. But I also feel like the uke is going to be more popular than ever because it's an it's inexpensive or
It's the
relatively.
most social instrument, really.
It
Yeah.
is, but when people can't be social, I still think this instrument will thrive because it's an easy instrument. You can get them for a decent one for a good price and start up playing music no matter where you are. It travels well. Um, and even with the social aspect of, all of the Zoom jams and things that
Yeah.
people have been doing, you still get to be together.
I think for me, I think we're gonna see more of a focus on groups, on group play, on group instructional stuff. As we've traveled for the past how many years, you do see the overall level grow of because not only are attendees for events getting better, but you're also having people that have been in clubs that are getting better. You have people that have been doing other things with the instrument that we don't necessarily see at festivals that are constantly getting better and better. So you've seen this bar kind of raise. And I feel like the focus for many years has been more on the individual, the solo ukulele kind of thing. And or the very general basic group jam type of playing. I feel like there's going to be a focus now going forward on how to arrange for groups more. You're going to
Like
see
ensemble.
you're going to see more of that work. You're going to see more. Well, one thing even with the UK already that I love that there's more of a focus on for the performers at least. You have a lot of duos. You have a lot of small groups. I mean, like Dead Man's Youth. You have Ukulele. But I love that, because I feel like in the US there is right now that kind of solo singer songwriter or instrumentalist thing that's very, very heavily focused on. But I do think we're missing that side of it in a lot of the workshops and a lot of teaching about arranging and about like how to actually put together fun things for your group to do on a much higher level that people are just dying to get to, because it's always going to be what's next, how do you push yourself, and that's the only way for a lot of these clubs and groups to survive, is to continually push themselves and their players, because you don't want to feel like you're just stagnating, and it's like stagnating.
Yeah,
Stagnating.
you're right.
Yeah. Yes, I do see that, and I think with the online thing, once things get safe again, it will never replace those physical events, but I do think it is going to be a much it's going to be around to supplement all of those physical events. I really do. I really feel like, especially the artists are seeing that now too, is that they can host these things and still help supplement their work, even between all of the physical things that they're doing.
Well, and it also, I think, is a great gateway. We've noticed, so we started hosting online events, and we've been doing live streams for a while, but we actually did like festival type.
Well, thank you for being a sponsor.
Yes,
I think for
thank
first
you. So
one was awesome. It was such a cool,
yes,
such a cool event.
But with doing those, we had so many people reach out to us saying, "I've never been to a festival. This was my first time. I can't wait for things to open up so that I can then go experience this in person." And so I feel like, we may end up trying to do another one like that, again next year, because it gives people who can't leave for whatever reason or live in an area that just doesn't have an event like that, it gives those folks a chance to have that experience.
And find new artists, and if this from the comfort of your own home, there's nothing quite it's the best bit about what we've had this year, really, is that people have had more time to discover and dive headfirst into their hobbies. So
not only that, but even with like the Facebook stuff we were doing with the Ukulele Friends Hawaii group, I mean, who would have thought this year we would have seen Jake Shimabukuro cook bacon
Right.
on live Facebook and Herbal to Junior talking for more than 2 minutes. I mean, it's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
So so we even these artists that are so typically busy with their touring schedule, we get to see them on a whole nother level now, which and it's so
Humanized.
neat. And
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm excited about the future, to be honest, because this showed us how important those live gigs are, but also showed us a path that there's still so much more potential to come and to come from this.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Just lastly, obviously you guys have moved to Hawaii this year. You've become parents this year, and it's just been a crazy year in general. You started working with Kanile'a, Craig, is that right?
Yeah, so one of the reasons we actually moving to Hawaii, I think, was always the game plan, but maybe a year or two or three from then. And they reached out, and I think it was from the mini fest, seeing those being put together, and Kristen has always hinted through the years that she's always wanted me to work with them on the creative side, to help them kind of reach out to their fans and audience, and in ways that I mean, they've been so fun to work with already, and we believe in so many things that they already do with the reforest in Hawaii, and
it's
all
easy
the
to like
things
Kanile'a.
it is,
Yeah.
it
is.
really is. And so they made us an offer, and it was the best of both worlds again, because now we get to be around family. Cameron gets to grow up around family, in a beautiful location, surrounded by music, um, and at the time, California was pretty much being burned down
Yeah,
too.
it was on
so,
fire. So we're like, you know what? I think we can leave town.
So it's been really wonderful, and they still give me the freedom to still be a musician as well. So it's not like a full-time thing where I'm only doing that. So we can still focus on our school with Artistworks. We can still focus
do
on
all of
performing.
our live streams, performing, and everything.
But I am excited to do some really fun, creative things with them. We'll have some official announcements coming soon.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining me. I've learned so much about you guys, and I really hope the people at home that are watching / listening to this have too. Your just the quick plugs for where people can find out more about what you do. Do you mind just passing them on?
Yeah. And before we leave, can I actually ask you one question that I've been dying to ask you this whole time?
Of course.
Okay. So, with the pandemic hitting everyone involved, how have you guys managed to cope with everything, and where do you see that being changing how you operate in the future as well? Because there were some silver linings in all of this, whether it's efficiency of workflow or things that even gave you time to think about how to do things different. What were I know any storefront right now is it's hard. It's really hard and scary. And how have you guys been able to still do what you do?
We've been very lucky because quietly, wouldn't outwardly kind of brag about it, but we had a very, very good March, April, and May. Business was fantastic, but we were overstretched, and it was incredibly hard because here in the UK, I know there's differences, but in the UK we could furlough staff and they would receive 80% of their wages. And we furloughed 2 members of staff. One of them was a chap called Kev, who was our main guy who did all the packing. So from a workload perspective, he was our best guy, and just the effort he put in was endless. And we also had a young lady who worked here called Sam, who she decided to go on furlough because she had relatives that were at risk, and she was mainly a shop floor assistant, but without the shop floor being open, it made sense. But then what happened was some days our orders would be quadruple what they would normally be, and we were running with 2 members of staff less. People's expectations went through the roof because they were stuck at home, and it became incredibly difficult from a logistical standpoint to satisfy people's needs. It got very, very difficult. And on a personal standpoint, my wife was getting more and more pregnant, and our son was home every day. So, we were working shorter days. We were working less days, and we were working very separated to keep things safe. It was so difficult. We were grateful every day that we got to work when lots of people we know weren't, and lots of people still aren't. But it was hard, and it made me really appreciate what we have here, because the team here, just to finish what I was saying before, Kev came back for a very brief period of time, handed his notice in because he decided he wanted a career change throughout all of this. The time at home gave him that space to do that.
Yeah.
And Sam came back for one shift and decided she felt the same. So there was quite a lot of change going on here, and the team here, we're all so close. Phil, who you would have met at the shop and at the NAMM show.
Yeah.
Just being a support network for each other, so important. Me and Phil constantly just, a little text here and there, just saying, "You're right." Because we're stressed and we're trying to do a good job, and the uncertainty was very, very difficult. But trade on the whole has been good and continues to be strong. People are normally in the summer we go quieter because people in the UK, ukulele is probably more of an indoor hobby. It's not something that, we don't have good weather all year round. So in the winter, people are back in and practicing more. So we're surviving just fine. And, we check in with our friends that have ukulele shops around Europe. We've got a few friends around Europe, and they seem to be doing okay. And we're just making sure we're there for each other.
Yeah. So
if someone hasn't got something, or if, one case, someone just doesn't have the man hours to get something quality checked, we're helping each other out. And the community spirit is what's getting us through.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. So thank you for asking. Nice of you to ask.
Yeah.
But we're just grateful. And it's maybe that's a positive note to end on, but just congratulations on becoming parents this year, folks.
Thank you very much.
He's very, very cute. I figured out that when you were talking earlier on, I guess what you could do is you could teach him the viola, and if the ukulele thing doesn't work out, you could have like a rusty string trio.
Yes. I love it.
Trying to remember how to play with maybe a toddler, trying to play a viola in the middle of it all. But no,
he already wants to play.
Does he? That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's got a really gentle touch, surprisingly so. But he actually already strums. It's really nice in a good way.
Cool. Well, by the time I get to series 6 of this podcast, maybe he'll be my guest. Who knows?
It's true.
I could talk to you guys forever, but we should probably call it a day, because I need to go to bed and get my golden 2 hours of sleep.
Oh, yes.
You have a great day.
But thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
And keep doing what you guys do. You guys are an inspiration to so many, and it's always a pleasure to see you guys. And I'm glad we got to see you virtually like this.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right back at you guys. Thank you.